Hello and a warm welcome to this special program that is dedicated to celebrating the life of the fourth Republican president, Mr. Ruphia Banda. Now, he has been described by people from all walks of life as a true statesman, a true diplomat, a son of the soil, and a president for all Zambians. And this is why, as we reflect on his year and mind, which falls on the 11th of March, many people who knew him, who were close to him, are giving their experiences and how they journeyed with him. And today we host a man who was part of his political journey, someone who served as political advisor to the late Ruphia Banda. And this is Mbikusita-Lewanika, and he is also a powerhouse in Zambia's political history. I'd like to welcome you, sir, to this program.
Thank you very, very much. It's such a nice surprise that you have reached out to me to give me an opportunity to share in remembering Ruphia Banda. I'd already passed my apologies that I would not be physically able to share with the family and the nation in the events of remembering him. It so happens that right now I'm in an area which is very close to Washington, D.C., which marks one of the places I remember him from way back 55 years ago when he was ambassador in Washington, D.C., and had an occasion to be a guest at his residence when he was ambassador in Washington, D.C. Although, of course, I'd met him earlier than that, even in 1954, when he was a student at Munali, and I was staying with my brother, who was his house captain.
Talk to us about Ruphia Banda, and like you've given us a brief history of how where you are is of sentimental value because of the relationship that you shared with him. But who was Ruphia Banda to you, looking at a man who got his first ambassador posting at age 27?
I think even earlier than that. Yes, I remember him as when he was a student at Munali, and he was made house captain of Moffat House when my late eldest brother, Arthur Mbikusita-Lewanika, was house captain. And he was one of my brother's favorite students. So I've been fond of him since 1954. And we have had occasion to meet. I have many, many memories of him in many occasions. He was many, many things. Apart from remembering him at Munali when he was a student, where he was a bit of a musician and a very impressive person to me when I was young. And also when he was ambassador here in the 60s, late 60s, as a student, the residence of the ambassador of Zambia was a hive of political activities. I remember that I met Stokely Carmichael and Miriam Makeba just before they got married at his house. So I have those memories of him, that he was a very prominent ambassador. He appeared in the Ebony magazine, which is the forefront of Black America's magazines. Even as an ambassador, he was quite well known when he was here. And I also have memories of him after I must say, even before I finished my studies, when I was at Cornell University, my thesis was on NAMBOD at the time, which he was general manager of NAMBOD, the National Agricultural Marketing Board. So he was also that. And when I was director of projects at Indico, I was working with some German companies which were represented by friends of his, such as Bill Sutherland, who was also a partner of Ruphia Banda in managing Loti Mwale, Chamchiteule boxers. And they had occasion to take me to London to go and watch Loti Mwale fight. We are very, very proud that match Loti won. He was also, I remember him very well. I can almost visualize him at Lusaka City Club, where he was very popular. And when my relative David Lewanika was chairman, he was also one of the leaders of the so-called Bola Bola generation, who were a very vocal support group for the Zambia national team and soccer in Zambia generally. So apart from having been a diplomat, having been a businessman, having been a promoter of sport, including soccer, I have known him all those while. Then when he was active in the United National Independence Party top leadership as a minister, as an MCC, even at the time when I was also at the forefront of campaigning to end the one-party state, we were in different camps, but our relationship never altered. He was able to differentiate personal relationship and political relationship. In fact, I should say that he was basically, as Ian Kama said at his funeral, he really was not a politician. He was a very social person. He preferred to get along with people and was very uncomfortable and I think very unskilled at dealing with personal attacks that sometimes characterize our politics. So that because we were able to maintain a relationship, even when we were on different sides of the political issues in Zambia, even when he retired, I was close to him. And therefore, I was also instrumental in bringing him into support for Levi Mwanawasa, which culminated in Levi Mwanawasa appointing him as vice president and so on. And then, of course, when my brother Levi passed away and Ruphia Banda became acting president, I supported him in his campaign for the presidency, and at the end of which, I don't know whether it was an award or not, he made me not advisor to the president. I always, each time I have an opportunity to correct this, there is no such position as an advisor to the president. The position is special assistant to the president in political affairs.
Now let's talk about President Ruphia Banda in his role as the president. Like you say, you knew him even as he rose through the ranks. But what sort of president was he? What leadership qualities would you say he possessed even when he took up the mantle and became the president, was elected president of the country?
Well, I think one of the things, lessons to future generation is that it was not he didn't spend sleepless nights conniving to be president. He became president because he was asked to be vice president. He became president because he was able to, he was asked to. It wasn't out of personal ambition. He wasn't dying to be president. He didn't campaign to be president until he was in a position as a presidential candidate, in which case, of course, he had to campaign. So that he comes into politics, let me say, going back, he entered politics from his student days when he was a student at Munali. When his generation responded to the demands of the campaign for independence by supporting the freedom fighters and ultimately being identified by the freedom fighters and sent to school in his case, after finishing his Form 4 at Munali, he was sent to school by UNIP, first to Ethiopia, then to Sweden. And while he was in Sweden, even as a student, he was quite a leader, because he was one of the early ones to be sent to Sweden, but he used this opportunity in Sweden to bring other Zambians, and even, let me say, other Africans, because this includes even Zimbabweans, students to Zimbabwe, to Sweden, such as Mr. Alexander Chikwanda, to Sweden, so that it was not really surprising that immediately when he finished his college days, which was just after independence, he was appointed as ambassador to Cairo. And from there, he became ambassador to Washington. So all this earlier entry into politics, even in the diplomatic service, was not arising out of personal ambitions, but it is being called to service and answering the call to service.
Now
so that even in his political career, he was not one of these really power-hungry politicians. But I must say that he was very good campaigner at the grassroots. He was very, very good campaigner at the grassroots. I observed him campaigning for parliament in Bauleni. Sometimes, one night, I remember very well, while he was campaigning all night in Bauleni, he came to my home for breakfast, but he had been out all night. And so that when Levi Mwanawasa was looking for a vice president, and I was convinced that Levi Mwanawasa's second term could only be earned by him winning the Eastern Province, he was the obvious candidate for me to court, because I knew that with his grassroots connections, he would be able to deliver the Eastern Province. He was one of the very few people who got along on a very friendly basis with all the traditional, and literally all the traditional authorities in Eastern Province, all the senior citizens in Eastern Province, and was very well known there. In retirement, he was so humble and ordinary, he could be seen on the streets of Chipata, just like a farmer. So he had all the characteristics, the behavior, the social connections, which put him in a very good position to be able to assist Levi Mwanawasa in getting his message and to the Eastern Province, which had up to that time remained a stronghold of the United National Independence Party.
I like that you talked about the young people and what lessons can be learned from President Ruphia Banda. One of the things that comes out, and we did see this even during his funeral service, is that he was called a true Democrat, someone who had the heart of the nation and the continent. What are some of those lessons that leadership today can learn from President Ruphia Banda, especially that we did see also under him a peaceful democratic transition?
As I say, he wasn't really a politician in the sense, because sometimes a politician in the negative sense is someone who's simply after power and who is doing everything to gain position, doing everything to keep position, who is doing everything to fight those who are threatening his position. He was not very good at that, actually. And but he was a hands-on person. He was exposed enough to politics to be a good campaigner for party. In many ways, I think, although he became president under MMD, He was very much politically tutored by UNIP, and like a service leadership sort of things was very much at his heart. And as I say, even at personal level, he related much easier with people, more or less as friends and families. Whoever he related to, he kind of had to reduce you to a member of his family. You are either equivalent to his brother or equivalent to his sister or equivalent to his child. And normally treated people on the basis of their equivalence as members of his family. And also he was very African in the sense of a borderless family. He was a family man, but a family without borders. He wasn't a family man restricted to a nucleus family. And that family attitude of relating to people as members of the family transcended into his politics.
Talk to us about your fondest memories working with the president in your line of duty. What are some of the things that stood out for you because you were obviously in close proximity with him?
My fondest memory of Ruphia Banda actually as a child at Munali, because he used to be in a musical group, and sometimes when I was naughty and out beyond my curfew and was scared to go back home to my brother's house, I would go where they are rehearsing and make sure that he's the one who takes me home when it's late, so that while he's talking to my brother, I sneak in and not face the punishment. And also I used to come to our primary school, which is Tunduya. Let me say my little school, Tunduya School, outside Munali, and teachers singing some Ndebele songs and things like that. Those are my memories. In terms of his presidency, and me as his special assistant, I don't have really fond memories. They were all good memories because it's somebody I'd known for so long that my relationship with him was seamless, whether he was general manager of NAMBORD or president or a retiree. In Chipata, I would visit him, I would stay with him. When he would come back to Lusaka as a retiree, there weren't too many friends of his staying with him, and I would be with him. So my relationship with him was so fond that it's very difficult to pick particular moments more fonder than others. Mm-hmm. I was fond of him, full stop.
Let's talk about life today, obviously without President Ruphia Banda, but his legacy lives on. What should the history books write about this great man? Why should he be documented and celebrated in a way that he was, even during his lifetime?
I think what crowned his life was what happened towards the end of his life, which coincided with the transition from the presidency of President Edgar Lungu to the presidency of HH. As I've said, he entered into politics because he was in the right place and he played the role that was required of him. So it so happened that he happened to be the only former president we had, and he seized that opportunity to contribute positively to smoothing the transition. And I think both Edgar Lungu and HH should be commended for having been able to seize the opportunity of a character such as Ruphia Banda to enable Ruphia Banda to bring them together and to enable Ruphia Banda to assist in the transition with their cooperation. And I think that that crowned his political life. That is a crowning service to the nation, because in we have actually betrayed the promises of independence. We have betrayed the promises of returning to multi-party. We are not as democratic as we promised ourselves to be. Therefore, we have not inculcated the democratic culture, so that we are still at risk each time you change government for the country to blow up or something like that. And therefore, it takes, it's almost per chance that you may get a Ruphia Banda who seizes the opportunity to do that. The lesson and the challenge to all of us is that we should not be like that. We should live up to the promises of our democracy and really be Democrats, understanding that there are losers and winners, and the rule of law, particularly constitutional law, and ensuring that our elections are free, fair, and credible, and and that our politics may be competitive but not corrupt, that our political ambitions may be tempered down by our national service, so that even if there is no Ruphia Banda to come to talk to the outgoing and the incoming president, we should be able to transition from one administration to the other seamlessly without requiring a Ruphia Banda, let alone without the shame of requiring outsiders to come in to tell us to behave ourselves as we know we should, and to be able to ensure peaceful transition.
Let me give you an opportunity to speak to the family as we conclude. I know that you have said he was a family man without borders and he accommodated so many people. I know that as a nation we will be remembering him, but also as a family, his family members, those close to him, will also be remembering his life and his legacy. What is your message as we conclude?
Well, my message to Womluti Tandiwe, whom I'm also very fond of, we thank her for having been there for our brother and having been there for our family, the Ruphia Banda family, and being of such a character that in his last days he was comforted, he had a home, he had a family which was united. I also like to thank the rest of the Banda family for having done us pride that even after his passing away, they were able to manage that difficult period with dignity and with love and with affection and an exemplary way of how, again, like I've said in terms of our politics, that it is normal that some ruling party at some time will become former ruling parties. And we shouldn't be thinking that it's a risky position. It is also normal that some heads of households will pass away, but families should remain together, united in love, and pay the last respect to the departed one is embedded in how we behave and how we continue as a united family. I thank them for that.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us, and we wish you all the best, and thank you for sharing that account with us on this special program.
Thank you for reaching out to me. I thought I was only going to be present in spirit, but now I'm present not only in spirit, but also by Zoom. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Akashambatwa Mbikusita-Lewanika joining us on this special program dedicated to remembering the life of 4th Republican President Ruphia Banda. And like has been said by many, he was a man of true democratic values and a man that loved the nation. My name is Chileshe Malungila. Goodbye.